I think it's a bit of a no-brainer. If you know what you want to offer and it's in line with what your customer wants and you're making that promise in the sale, then it's just as important or even more important to ensure that that promise is delivered upon.
Welcome to the Master Your Business podcast. I am your host, Deirdre Martin. Today, I am thrilled to have Clare Muscutt, a business coach, consultant, author and speaker who has over 20 years of experience in various business and leadership roles as our guest. Clare is not only an accomplished business leader, but she's also the founder of Women in CX, an all-female startup team that created the first online membership community for women in customer experience. Clare will be sharing her valuable insights and we'll be discussing her experience as a solopreneur and the challenges of CX delivery when running a business by yourself. We'll also be exploring the benefits of consistently delivering great CX and the most common mistakes that small business owners make when it comes to CX. Just before we get into the show, let me ask you, would you please do me a small favour? If you have a moment after you've listened, if you've found the show to be of value, would you please leave a rating or a review wherever it is that you're listening to the show? Your support would mean so much to me and to other listeners and business owners out there like you who are aspiring 6, 7 or 8-figure CEOs. Now, get ready to master your business with Clare Muscutt on this CX-focused episode. Hello, everybody, and thank you for joining today and tuning in. Today, I am joined by Clare Muscutt, who, in my eyes, is, oh my gosh, it's like the Jeff Bezos from Amazon on the online shopping world, but in the customer experience world. So I'm so thrilled to have you join me, Clare. Why don't you just start off by giving a little bit of an intro and background about yourself before we get in and have a little bit of a chat?
Wow, no pressure. Jeff Bezos. So my background started very much in the front line of customer service in hospitality, discovered how much I love serving customers, went on to go to business school and study for a master's. That meant when I re-emerged, because I'd been working that whole time, I got to go straight onto a graduate scheme. So became the general manager of a hotel and restaurant at the tender age of 23. And again, what really turned me on was customer service and also like leading employees to deliver great service. So kind of from that jumping off point, I had no idea what this kind of word customer experience was, because I don't think it existed at the time, aging myself a little there. But went into the office and started working in roles in things like data and analytics, then went on to work in brand proposition and standards in marketing. And I got my first job with the title customer experience manager in 2007, I think it was, with a B2B company where I developed a model for customer experience design that just kept getting these huge results. So much so that I won a few awards, got headhunted in 2011 to join Sainsbury's, and then spent 5 years in retail heading up customer experience design, service proposition and strategy, before I decided to jack it all in and go off on my own and set up my own consulting and keynote speaking business, which was really successful straight off the bat. And I was traveling all around the world, living as a digital nomad, having a great time. But then when the pandemic hit, my business disappeared overnight. So kind of fourth rev of who I am and what I do was that during the pandemic, I started a podcast for women in my industry, and that has grown to become a community for women in my industry that's growing so rapidly. We're in 43 countries already, of which Deirdre is one of my lovely members.
It's fantastic and a testament to you, Clare. And I think, oh my gosh, I didn't realize that you had started in roles like that from such an early age. And I know from the customer experience world that even 2007, to even have a role with that title at that time, that was incredibly progressive, right? Because qualifications and certifications and so on for CX didn't start until about 2014, isn't that right?
Yeah, well,
So, wow.
I never paid any attention to the certification world.
Yeah.
All my experience was learned on the job. And I think that's the best certificate you can have, isn't it? Actually, hands-on experience.
Definitely, totally agree with you. And not dissimilar to my own journey as well. And for people tuning in today, they might be solopreneurs, and small service-based business owners with a small number of employees. How, in your words, would you define what customer experience is?
I love this question. So it really depends on what your organization does. So customer experience can mean different things to different businesses. So if you're working in B2B versus B2C, if you're working in non-profit versus commercial businesses, I think the first task is defining what does it mean where you are. So being able to bring together your small team or your small kind of leadership group and articulating that vision that for us customer experience means. And it could be kind of very frontline customer service heavy if you're operating in that kind of market, or it could be about operationally how we create the smoothest path to purchase for our customers in an e-commerce business. And in small businesses, I think it's best to just not overcomplicate it. What does customer experience mean for your organization? And the most important question, how are you going to deliver it?
Yeah, because it's hard, isn't it, as a solopreneur when you're doing all the things, and there is so much that, between the HR, if you're hiring people, or the accounts, the marketing, the sales, and then the customer service and the customer engagement piece, which is crucial, because if we don't have customers, we have no business, right?
I guess I can say this, having been a solopreneur and set up a small agency, and now as a small business owner with a small team that actually sits remotely and all across the globe. I've kind of lived in the big world of corporate and kind of recreated this in this new space. And honestly, I've learned as I've gone along as much as the next person. And I think it's just about figuring out the priorities, because when you're a solopreneur or you're in a small business, you can't do everything. Yeah. So how do you identify for your customers what are the key things that you have to get right? And then how do you focus on those things? Because if you spend too much time in the theoretical world or getting overcomplicating it, you're probably going to take too long and not have the amount of resource you need to get there. So
and actually deliver.
And for us in small business world and solopreneur world, that's what we do, isn't it? We are all about delivering, in some cases doing it by ourselves.
Absolutely. And I think, in my mind, I think a lot of people really still confuse some elements of customer service with customer experience. I know that it's so much more than that, and customer service alone won't deliver success and business results. But to you, why do you believe that customer experience is essential to a business's success?
So I guess for me, customer service is an element of customer experience. You can only kind of think customer experience from the outside point of view, right? So what is it that your customer needs to achieve or do through interacting with you? And then what is the most efficient, enjoyable, simplest, easiest way of helping them to do that thing? If you have an experience that comes from sales, like you say, I'm going to offer you this thing, I'm going to do this amazing stuff, you make a promise and then you don't deliver on it, the likelihood is, especially in small businesses, you're not going to keep that customer, so you've lost your sale. And if you've done a bad job at it, the likelihood or possibility that their experience is going to be shared and damage your potential future sales is also going to be higher. So I think it's a bit of a no-brainer. If you know what you want to offer and it's in line with what your customer wants and you're making that promise in the sale, then it's just as important or even more important to ensure that that promise is delivered upon.
Yeah. And would you agree that that promise can be your brand's promise as well as your marketing promise and your sales promise? It's not literally just that one interaction, is it?
No, and I wasn't thinking of kind of sales or marketing as a single thing, but an expectation created, right? When you maybe if it's like a client, you promise them that you're going to deliver this project in this time for this budget.
Yes,
that's set a promise. If you start to move away from what you promised you'd do in what time frame, from a B2B client point of view, that's going to be disappointing. So I think it's about kind of, as I keep saying, granularizing who is your customer and what do they need to do and what's the best possible way of making that happen in line with what you said or promised you would do. So let's say for a small e-commerce business, on your website, you've probably got kind of terms and conditions. We'll deliver within this time frame. The quality of the good have been written into a product description. There's an expectation set of what I'm going to get and how it's going to happen. And if that promise isn't adhered to, that's bad customer experience. And I suppose the other side is, things go wrong. Inevitably they do. And as I found, especially in the last year with this new startup business, is that you can't kind of foresee every eventuality. So another part of customer experience is being able to proactively reach out when you know something isn't going to work and reset that expectation, get agreement, recover service. And if it's gone and you've really messed up, having a plan and a way of behaving and acting towards your customers that means you'll roll out a red carpet and do anything to fix it for them if it's your fault. So again, kind of like, I think there's just these like kind of bits that bolt together depending on what you do. And ensuring that the most important ones are prioritized.
Fantastic. And actually, that was one of the things I was going to ask you, is in terms of you being a solopreneur and a leader of the incredible Women in CX community, where if anybody is watching and is interested in learning, I'm going to ask you to drop the link names and whatnot in a few minutes, Claire. But, what would you say have been your biggest challenges in terms of your own CX delivery as a solopreneur and running and founding this community?
So when I was a solopreneur and I had my little agency, that was, very much B2B. So it was learning to do things by myself, I guess, because when I worked in corporate, there were teams of people that I would deliver a plan to and they would go and execute. So, for example, having no budget to do anything, the millions of pounds that were available to me in a business like Sainsbury's didn't exist. So for example, even like learning how to build my own website, I knew the experience I wanted to create, but actually that hands-on practical experience of using things like Squarespace and the myriad of digital tools that I've learned along the way. I think with Women in CX, it's, less a problem of being able to design experiences and know what customers want and create, approaches that mean you can continuously improve and iterate a startup digital platform. It's been more the things that I just literally had no idea about. So for me, it would be things like campaign marketing and automation.
Yeah, campaign marketing and automation. And that's huge, right? Because that's what drives brand awareness to help you get customers when you're starting up in the first place, isn't it?
Yeah, and I suppose like building digital customer journeys that, my initial assumption is people will come to an intro event, they'll sign up, they'll join. That isn't quite what happens. You have a load of people that sign up, then a load of people that don't turn up. So then how do you reactivate the people that didn't turn up to get them back into the funnel again? Or then you have people that sign up to come and have a one-to-one meeting with me and then change their mind and say they're not ready for it. Then you have to make sure they're off the list, because otherwise they're going to keep being contacted. Yeah. So for me, I think it was more the kind of marketing technologies that I didn't understand the inner workings of. And again, like social media marketing, that kind of thing, I'm great at that, but email marketing was completely a new avenue. So that's a lot of trial and error. But also I think when you're working at the pace I'm working at in this startup, where we're working with our community to co-design, to test, to learn, to iterate, like every 3 months we rev basically. It's like we got this far, we got feedback, we listened, we understood, we made some changes, we go with that, we learn from it, and then we have to rev again. So in this process of continuous improvement and changes, then being able to go back to all these touch points you've created and make sure that they're at the latest version, because you can have emails everywhere, documents on what Google Drives that people are linked to, email web pages that need to be updated, even like having a YouTube channel, an Instagram, a Facebook. There are just so many places that have to be managed. And when you don't have like a social media team or a marketing team, I am essentially the founder with 3 team members, one that's in the Philippines that supports with business management but came on board as a VA and is growing into this role of manager, and 2 interns that had never worked in business, marketing or customer experience before, and I've grown into a community manager role and somebody helping with communications and social media. So all of us, literally all of us, had no idea what we were doing, and we've never done our jobs before.
And you're doing brilliantly.
Yeah, but that kind of constant kind of learning and evolution. So I guess what I've had to get better at is having to be less of a perfectionist, because things can't go right for first time. And
every time, yeah, I keep saying that as well. Even customer experience people make mistakes. I had an issue recently on a launch because of the technology and the marketing and the email stuff, where just things didn't go right, and so some people didn't get emails, and people got emails but after the fact, and blunders. But these things happen, right? And it's, as you say, how you roll out the red carpet and how you recover from it afterwards.
I'll give you an example. So customer experience is so important to us, especially because our community is filled with customer experience professionals.
No pressure.
So the team and me, like, they're an awesome team, and we have a massive focus on quality checking, quality assurance, because we have to, because our customers will definitely notice if something goes wrong. But then yesterday, I was trying to take a bit of pressure off the team. One of our jobs to do was to create a social media post, recognising some of our members who'd won awards this season. And I got up at 5 a.m. and tried to fit this job in before having got to the rest of the work I was going to do that day. And unbeknownst to me, I hadn't realised I was doing this, flicking between Canva files, I'd accidentally put the wrong picture of the wrong person with her name, someone else's name, basically the right name, the wrong photo. I published it on LinkedIn, and this post, as most of my posts do, quite a lot of engagement, lots of comments, lots of people liking it. I think it's up to 7,000 views. And then I got a message at 7 p.m. last night from the lady in America whose photo it was.
Oh my goodness.
Name of the other woman who'd actually won the award, saying, hey, I just thought I'd let you know that you've got the wrong photo, just in case you want to change it. So I was like, oh my God, this is such an own goal. And as someone who's very hard on herself when it comes to these kinds of mistakes, I literally was kicking myself. But another benefit of having delivered a consistently great customer experience all the way along is actually your customers are a hell of a lot more understanding and forgiving when you do get it wrong. So the member on LinkedIn, I was like, look, I can take it down. I can't edit it, because once you put a graphic up on LinkedIn, it's done. But I'll do it. I'm more than happy to do that if you want me to. And she was like, no, it's funny. It's actually quite fun. It's a bit like a who's who. Let's see if you know. I was like, ooh, thank you so much, and that kind of mistake, if we hadn't had proven ourselves consistently to be the kind of organization we are, that really cares about our members, that I don't think we would have got that level of understanding and forgiveness. And then the lady whose actual award it was, once I'd been alerted to it, because I didn't even notice it myself, and then proactively reached out to her and said, I've got a confession to make. I reached her on the platform, and I was like, you're a little monkey with the hands over the eyes emoji. Yes. I can't believe I've done this. The right image went on the community, and somehow I've put somebody else's face under your name. And I was just waiting for her to say, yeah, take it down. That's rubbish. This is my award. I went, and she was said exactly the same thing. She was like, oh, it makes me a bit elusive, doesn't it? To what do I actually look like? And I was like, oh my God, this is absolutely incredible. But because of the customer experience, it provided the relationship I built with my customers, the amount of time and effort and energy I put into them and listening to them and building the relationships, means that actually when things go wrong, they're not going to be quite so bad.
Yeah, that's a fantastic example, Claire. And how easy it is to do something like that, even just to put the wrong name, as you say, the wrong image. It's so easy to do it. And things like that happen all the time in the real world. And when you're on your own and you don't have 5 people to check it before it goes to print, it's such a simple mistake to make.
It's funny though, because we as a little team, we do quality check each other's work, so we know who's got strengths in what areas. So for me, I'm strong in structure and kind of architecture of stuff, and I'm good at copywriting, but terrible at spelling and grammar and having commas and stuff in the right places. And another one on my team is amazing at graphics, far better than me, but she has got dyslexia, so kind of copy checking and stuff for her is difficult. And then we've got this awesome copywriter who naturally is just brilliant with words, but also very good with the I can't think of the right word, is the correct parts of it. So we work together, and we have a little bit of a stream going where we
perfect.
But just having another pair of eyes sometimes, because when I started I was on my own, and just having like someone in your community, like someone that can help each other out, a bit of an accountability buddy type scenario. Buddying up with somebody who's got opposing skills to you, I found was incredibly useful. So we could mark each other's homework as solopreneurs and help one another out. So yeah,
just and that's great to do. That's something I've done quite a lot as a solopreneur starting up my business. I've worked with people, because actually coming on camera for me was something that I used to freak out about when I first started, because I've been on camera, in the bank. When I worked in the bank, I was still in the bank when we started to work remotely. But coming on camera, doing webinars and things like that, absolutely, I was bottling it. And so, I did some coaching. I swapped some coaching with somebody, and we collaborated. And actually with somebody in Wix now, I'm about to start a collaboration with them to help them with something, and they're going to help me with something. So that's what it's all about. Yeah, solopreneurs, women. When women support each other, incredible things happen. But yeah, and I think as well, for me, something that I truly fundamentally believe in when it comes to customer experience is that when we make a mistake, we hold our hands up and we just say mea culpa. And I thought for me that was something that came from such a highly regulated background, being in banking, because any expression of dissatisfaction is a complaint. It needs to be recorded in a certain way in case the ombudsman gets involved. But actually it's more than that for me, and I think it always has been. But like you, it's a whoops, I've made a boo-boo. And again, however your brand personality might be, that's it. Is it a funny one? How do you formally communicate that, I think, is really important, but it should be in line with what your brand is. But talking about mistakes, when you're setting up your business as a solopreneur or as a small business owner, what in your opinion are the most common or mistakes that you see most often when it comes to customer experience for those types of business owners?
It really doesn't matter if you're a gigantic corporate or a tiny business. It's the fact that all of the problems stem from the fact that you pick your digital channels and your processes first, and your experience becomes an outcome of that. So whether I'm doing a keynote presentation on a global stage, talking to huge technology companies or contact center based companies going through digital transformation, or talking to women who are solopreneurs in my community who work with small businesses, it's essentially that you have to avoid the experience being the outcome of your processes and your channels. So the simplest way to do that is, I think I've described on a couple of occasions during even this conversation, is being able to understand your customer and architect and a vision for an experience that you want to deliver that helps them to meet their needs in the most efficient, enjoyable, easy way. And then you make your decisions about what processes you create or what technology systems you implement in order to meet that vision. So most of the systems we use at our level are similar, aren't they? Like Canva for this, Google Drive for that. MailChimp for the other. But for me, like with women in CX, I designed the target experience and then worked out what processes do I need and what channels can I use, and then kind of set about engaging my systems to do it. A lot of companies now sell these all-in-one solutions. So you've got your CRM, you've got your marketing tool, you've got this, you've got that, you've got the other. And the same thing happens in huge organizations where they buy these big off-the-shelf technologies that promise to fix it all for you. And in my experience, I haven't met one yet that actually does. But if you can be clear about the vision you want to create and deliver parts of it, even if it's through multiple smaller little platforms, it's possible. And the best discovery I made in 2021 was this thing called Zap. If you haven't heard of it, go to out Zapier. So Zapier is basically like this little tool in the background that can connect your systems to one another based on actions that customers take.
Mm-hmm.
For example, one of the problems that I was talking about earlier, what if someone doesn't turn up? What if someone doesn't fill out a form? What if someone leaves or unsubscribes? Then this little tool called Zapier can work in the background and see an action and have an if statement behind it. So if this is an example that we're actually just doing at the moment, if someone's booked to attend an onboarding one-to-one with me and they haven't filled out their application form 24 hours before they meet me, our automation system will send them the message to remind them, and here's the form and how important it is, but at the time when they're considering it. So that to me means more kind of compliance, and having had the information, we need to have that conversation. And because a lot of the information we collect is also like headshot and bio and stuff that we use to help our members with social media announcements after they join, that is just one small thing with a little tool in the background. I didn't have a whole kind of engineered mailing system that works independently. With a little zap from Google Drive to MailChimp, that issue's resolved.
Sorts it out. Fantastic. Yeah, I've used it as well. I've actually signed up to use it and I've integrated it. And how I was doing that was because I created a quiz, which was to help people understand, are they actually clear on who their ideal clients are? So either yes, they're incredibly clear, they're somewhere in the middle, or no, they have a bit of work to do. And so I was able to create a quiz using a particular software and then integrate it into my platform using Zapier. I call it Zapier, actually.
We had a conversation about it, didn't we? You were asking me about.
I was looking for ones. No, that was for something else. But yeah, and that was how I came across it and learned more about it. It was really good. And a few other tools that are good for things like that are intercom.com for communicating in one place from multiple platforms. I find is very good. And I've heard a lot of people mention Asana and Dubsado and a few of those others as well. So to make life easier for anybody who's watching, those are some of the software platforms that I've heard of that people have said good things about. But Claire, I'm really conscious of time, but I have one final question that I want to ask you before I let you go. And again, it is for the small business owners who might be watching today, because for me, when I talk about customer experience and in the program that I run, I cover so much because I want them to be able to get as much as they possibly can when they're learning about CX. But it's such a broad topic, and really it's the minor details that make such an impact on the customer experiences, right? But where would you suggest that a small business owner focus first or even start when it comes to CX?
So I guess it depends at what stage your business is at. So if you already have customers, you're already trading, I say feedback is the first place to start. So listening to what their current experience is, what problems have arisen. You can do a combination of things depending on how many customers you've got. If you've got a few, maybe you could put together a little survey, voice of our customer type scenario, get a little bit of quantitative data to help to identify particular points that need to be addressed. And then I never do quantitative or qualitative. And then how can you follow up some of those conversations with depth interviews to understand a bit more about it? If you can get that insight, like from the get-go, this is what should inform whatever you do next in customer experience. Because if you can talk to customers and understand that as is, you're then able to paint a picture of to be. And then kind of off from there, again, I keep saying we have to prioritize the most important ones. Just pick one or two things to go after that you can do quickly, that you can produce a change almost immediately or straight away from, and fix something that will demonstrate value back to your client or customer as early as possible. And usually there are kind of short-term things you can fix quickly, and then things that are going to take investment and time and blah, blah, blah. Those things become nebulous really quickly. So just keep yourself focused in what can we turn around in the next maximum 3 months by simple changes. And actually the compound effect of fixing those things will have a much bigger impact than waiting and trying to go for a bigger outcome or result.
Yeah, fantastic answer. Clare, thank you so much. It's been such a pleasure to have you. For anybody who's tuned in, if you've got any questions, please feel free to connect with me. Just pop the questions into the comments in the post or wherever you're watching or tuning in from. And Clare, thank you again.
I hope you enjoyed it, everyone. And yeah, hope to see you soon. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.